Welcome to Lansdowne Roar, your home of Irish football. And tonight we react to Shamrock Rovers' heartbreaking night at Tala, getting knocked out by Norwegian side Molde, unfortunately on penalties. Martin, heartbreaking night for Rovers. What did you think of that?
Yeah, it was a disappointing night overall, wasn't it? I mean, look, after the hype and all the great talk after the brilliant 1-0 lead going into the tie, I thought that they were going to do it in Tala, and it just was a great watch. Actually, I thought it was a real good showpiece for the League of Ireland again, seeing the fans especially getting behind the team there. Yeah, just heartbreak, like you said. Just penalty shootout. It is a lottery. 5 brilliant penalties from Mulder, to be honest, but yeah, like watching it here in London and on the TNT channel, of course. But I mean, look, they did very, very well. But yeah, just came short ultimately to what could have been a historic night.
Yeah, honestly, it was gutting. Like, because someone that's not even a Shamrock Rovers fan, from that point of view of Irish football, it would have been such another iconic night. It was probably the biggest night in Irish football in history in terms of club competition in Europe. So, like, over the two legs, you could easily say Rovers were the better side. They were missing 8 first teamers tonight, which is huge. Then with the likes of losing Johnny Kenny, Neil Ferrugia, and Dara Burns in the off season, and like when you look at the balance of things, they were the better team over the two legs tonight. They had their chances. Aaron McAniff probably should have got a penalty in the first half when they were 1-0 down. The goal was a complete mess. Lee Grace probably should have cleared the ball, and then Ed McGinty made a complete meal of it, which led to the Molde captain, who is a very good player, slotting it home. But it's gotten now for an Irish point of view, because they would have been playing Legia Warsaw or Cercle Bruges, the other team in Bruges, not Club Bruges anyway. But in the next round, so it's gotten in that aspect. But like what they've done over this past, was it 6 months or so in Europe,
Mm.
has done the league proud, and like this seems to have put a platform out there for Irish clubs. Like Martin, for someone like yourself, you answering this is we don't really see Irish clubs making a name for themselves
Mm.
across Europe. We've seen Michael Noonan scoring last week, and he was the hot property across Europe. And like, what's the reaction like over there with like even people with Irish heritage or people who aren't even fans of Irish football? They're starting to take notice from this run from Shamrock Rovers.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, look, playing Chelsea in the earlier round was a key as well. People were looking forward to that, especially in our supporters club in London. People were talking about where they're going to go to that game. Um, you know, I think the people have been invested in the kind of journey they've been on, and despite some of the controversy of like Stephen Bradley's comments on the FAI and things during the week, it has ultimately brought attention to Shamrock Rovers playing in Europe. It is a bit of a new thing in the sense that the pre-match interviews that you do, the press in the lead up to European games, it's all there as well. So obviously, there was a lot of sound bites out from that on different topics, of course. But you know, we're happy as well with the League of Ireland kind of getting up and running again recently. But this kind of journey has been in the background for Shamrock Rovers, and to see them fall short and like nearly create history was amazing. I mean, the story of 16-year-old as well, scoring a goal and then going to school the next day. We've seen some of that with Liverpool players doing that in the league and in the Premier League and things like that. So it was brilliant to see an Irish perspective of that. These names now are familiar with many fans. I think even Irish fans are looking, thinking, "Wow, who's these lads playing for Shamrock Rovers?" Looking at the team sheet tonight, realizing Bazunu's brothers on the bench. I think was it? Was
Yeah, it
he
was
there?
Todd Bazunu. Yeah,
Yeah, and like so people are just kind of think, wow, I know him or I know the name and things like that. It was just interest, I think. And there would be a link, especially like Man United fans would know who FC Molde are and things like that. People are looking into these European competitions now and seeing who the opposition are, and it has brought like an increase in profile to the League of Ireland without a doubt. And yeah, I think I was just sad to see him fall short. And yeah, even back to the game, you know, they were pushing against 10 men in the end, weren't they? And they were by far the better team in extra time. It just was just a little bit lack of quality at times. And it was heartbreaking. I thought they were going to do it, the last minute corner, and he put it out. I was like, geez, screaming at the TV at that moment because I was just thinking, I mean, the goalkeeper, to be fair, he's huge, wasn't he? And he came and
yeah,
claimed everything. And I thought, just one brilliant delivery now. And because they did have one a little bit earlier, they had a near post corner that nearly came off, or a cross actually, and then it went out for a corner. But I think they were close, but going down to
yeah,
penalties, and it was a poor penalty, wasn't it? Let's be honest. God, it
yeah.
was.
From
We
Aaron
won't
Green,
forget
like
that. Yeah.
Yeah, like a 35-year-old probably at this stage, Aaron Green, as good as he's been a servant to Rovers last couple of years, and he shouldn't like it. I think it just highlights how I think people are afraid to say Rovers have had a poor transfer window, but I would argue they've probably had one of the worst transfer windows out of any League of Ireland club to make the money they have. To obviously losing Kenny was huge. Losing Neil Ferrugia is obviously huge as well. But like Darragh Burns as well gone. Like they haven't really replaced these lads. Like Danny Grant's a huge downgrade from Darragh Burns' that position. Neil Ferrugia wasn't really replaced. Johnny Kenny's been replaced by a 16-year-old. Although he is absolutely brilliant for a 16-year-old, it was never the plan for him to come in and play like he's played 390 minutes or just under 300, just under 180 minutes over the last 7 days, and like that's ridiculous that he's done that. Actually, would have played more because of extra time. And like we seen tonight, there was 7 youngsters on the bench. Obviously, injuries are injuries, and that wouldn't have been the case with injuries. But there were 7 youngsters, 3 goalkeepers on the bench in the European night. They didn't even fill the full bench, and like we see, it was although it created opportunities for young lads like Victor Osambula, who was absolutely brilliant when he came on tonight. He was very good against Bows at the weekend, and I'd imagine you were impressed by him, Martin. He came on. He's just that he was proper, what you'd say, is an old school, fearless, quick feet, unbelievable balance. You could see him. He was a kid coming on the pitch, but when he came on the pitch, he lit the place up. Like Tala was quiet, he'd get on the ball, and you'd see fans instantly were on their feet. Fans would be cheering, and like it's just such a disappointment that Rovers haven't qualified. Like having that many youngsters on the bench and really not really. Although Corey O'Sullivan, who played left back, was brilliant tonight, and John O'Sullivan was good when he came on, but like it's just disappointing because Rovers could have done so much more in terms of. Obviously, the next round would have been very tough to get through, but I just think their transfer window has been very poor in that context. And like Ed McGinty made the mistake when they brought in a goalkeeper to cut out that mistake. Although Poles had a very good campaign for them, they thought McGinty would be an upgrade, but then he pretty much generally cost them the end with that goal. And I think they needed a new centre half that was a ball playing centre half, which they lacked. And they brought in Matt Healy, who's an absolutely brilliant footballer, technically superb, can take set pieces. Obviously, that corner at the end was pretty poor, but he scored a brilliant penalty. And like centre mid is probably their strongest position in terms of options. And like they have one senior striker now in Noonan, and Green was probably on the way out, but other than for the injuries and lads leaving, and Rory Gaffney, no one really knows if he's going to make an impact when he comes back. And like I look at from stuff I've heard and stuff I believe, I think Rovers should be dying to get Kevin Zeffy back in the door on loan until either the end of the season or until the summer, like because that's a lad there that would get lads off their feet. At Tala, I know they don't really play with wingers, but they play with 10s who pick up the ball. And we've seen with Osambula tonight, who is a winger, and he played at wing back and he got fans off their feet. And I think of a young lad like that could come in, get fans off their feet and make a real impact and get his career back on track in men's football, because he hasn't really got a chance in men's football, been tearing it up in the Primavera. So like if hopefully over the next day or two, Rovers can try and push for a deal for him, because I know if they want to go for the deal, they could make that deal happen on loan. So it would be a brilliant signing. But I don't know, Martin, it's disappointing because there's no way Rovers over the 2 legs were the lesser team. Like Molda had a fully fit squad. Rovers had nowhere near a fully fit squad, and they still were the better side. And funny enough, I didn't know if he knows on TNT tonight, which was funny enough. Ian Dark was commentating, I believe, and he said that Pico Lopez is one of Ireland's greatest ever imports into the league. I don't think he realized that Pico Lopez is from Crumlin. I think he just looked at the nation he represents at international level and thinks, he must be from there. I don't think he realized where he actually was born or where he was brought up. So that was a funny moment, but like it's just great to see the coverage.
I think Ian Dark did get it, as well, that that it was a bit of a journey for Shamrock Rovers. I mean, it has been a long season for them as well. The League of Ireland just started now, trying to manage that kind of dual campaign in the sense that you want to be strong, and like you said, they haven't invested in the squad too much yet. They might get a bit of money now and do that, which they evidently will need. But like, I think as well, a real positive for them though, and for Irish football. I mean, we speak about the young players. Obviously, you a rep tracker following the lads coming through, but I mean, I just think it's incredible. The 2 things really stuck out for me tonight: that the mentality of these young lads who are put into those pressure situations in Europe, stepping up, taking penalties, and delivering. The execution was fantastic. I just can't imagine the pressure on them, and it just like older beyond their years. And again, back to the fan base. Like, I just thought it was amazing to see Taller absolutely packed there, and just the amount of young people. It's brilliant for the league again. I hope the FAI are watching, keeping, and the clubs as well, recognizing that fan base is there, and that it has to build that momentum to get Irish football up and going again. And just encouraging people and not pricing fans out of these games, because you can just see it, like, it creates the atmosphere fantastically. We saw it at Lansdowne Road as well on the weekend, and I just think it's so important, and that's what we want to see go into the Lansdowne Road for the Ireland games coming up in March.
And just on the penalties and stuff, like, I think it was a big ask. I think my head, as soon as the penalties came out, I was like, look who's the fresher team. Even though Mulder were down to 10 men, they had, how many substitutes did they make? With Rovers, they made Aaron Green came on, John O'Sullivan came on, and Victor Osunvula came on. But that was it, really. So that was three men in the whole, what was it, 120 minutes, while Mulder must have made 6 subs. My guess is they made 5, and then the one in extra time, which is always a benefit when it comes to penalties, because you can see we're tired. Like, even though Aaron Green wasn't even on that long before he missed the penalty, but I think it is a big boost, Martin, that it was the young lads who stepped up in the penalty shootout and scored, and Noonan and O'Sullivan smashed it in the top corner. So, like, that oozes confidence, and it also brings in the argument about going to England at 16. Now we have them staying, and because Michael Noonan, there was no way he would still be in Ireland right now if the old words before Brexit are there. And I know it's a common thing, it's about being in the English academy, but he's playing with Shamrock Rovers, top 2 squads in Ireland based on player ability, and he's under a brilliant manager in Stephen Bradley, and he's training in that environment every day as a professional footballer, like, and the physical development he'll get from playing in that level, like, and you've seen tonight his raw ability, his hold-up play, his strength, his link-up play, and obviously you've seen the finish with the penalty. I think it's a huge benefit, like, that we're also, whilst we're building the league at this stage, we're seeing these young lads express themselves, because we don't want the league just to build full of 28, 29-year-olds. We want it to be a home of young Irish talent that they're building their careers, and then the clubs can build from there by investing in the academy to make off these lads.
Yeah, I agree completely. I mean, that's the amazing thing. You don't look at any other leagues where these lads are getting the opportunities at that age, and they are proving themselves that they can cope with it, and on the biggest stage of all Europe. And yeah, like we said, ultimately just disappointment that they didn't get through, because I think over the 2 legs they did deserve it. And look, we'll have to obviously follow them on future League of Ireland shows that we're going to be doing as part of Lansdowne Raw.
Yeah, I think that's the end of the heartbreak for tonight, Prendy. I think we need to move on to a huge weekend of Irish football, and I think all we have to say left is make sure you follow Prendy M on Twitter, myself, Rep Tracker on Twitter, us on every platform at Lansdowne Road, and make sure you like the video, subscribe, and we'll see you on Sunday with the live video.